Okay.
And we get access to these slide sets, don't we?
Yeah, we can definitely share the recording and even the PowerPoint. We can send it to you for sure.
Yes, please do.
Awesome. And so can you see the slideshow now? Can you see the title there?
See it all.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start. Yeah, yours, mine, and ours. Engagement is a three-way street. This was a collaborative presentation that was created by myself, Mr. Peter, and Catherine from Highlands. And unfortunately, Catherine's not up to being here today, but she's here in spirit. And this was definitely she was a big part of this. Like, she helped out tremendously. So we definitely want to give a shout out to her. So to start off, so my name is Fonz. I'm the instructional designer and trainer from Adams State University. I've worked in my position here for 3 years now. So I've been helping our instructors here build their online courses or use their face-to-face courses and start implementing some online aspects. And I love it. I love helping the faculty make sure that their students are having the best experiences they can. And presenting with me today is Mr. Peter Snyder. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. I work over here at UNM Taos. I've been in this position as instructional media specialist for about 2.5 years now. Before that, I worked at Northern New Mexico College as the Blackboard administrator and faculty support agent. So I'm just like Fonz. I think it's so incredible to be able to support faculty using these technologies to improve their and their students' experience. So now we get to introduce some more people because there's more than one person that just walked in the room.
Four. You've got
Four. Excellent. Look, I see five. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you for coming. So could we go around the room in there and introduce ourselves?
You're engaging your students.
I'm Howard Boudoulet. I'm a student here at New Mexico Highlands University, and I work for the Career Services Center.
Very cool.
Excellent. We have a question for you, Mr. Boudoulet. How long have you been teaching?
I actually have not. Actually, I have been assistant. I was a teacher's assistant in high school, but my teaching experience is very limited.
That's fine. That's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Who's next? Don't be shy.
I'm Garcia. I'm the Director of Career Services, and your title intrigues us because we're always looking for ways to engage students with services. So Howard and I work together, and he serves as a career care advisor, and I'm the Director of the center.
Very cool. Yeah, thank you for coming.
Who's next?
I was the first live body, and I'm in social work. I attended the Amigos workshop for Institute last year as the second cohort, which Yvonne Roybal had facilitated.
Do you do any teaching?
Oh, yes, I do. I'm on faculty in the School of Social Work.
How long have you been a teacher?
And back to 2002.
Wonderful.
15 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might have to run this workshop for us because you have way more experience than we do. And so that's three. Who's the other person that's in that room?
Right.
Todd Christensen. I teach in visual and performing arts and fine arts, drawing, painting, printmaking, introduction to art. I've been teaching here at New Mexico Highlands University for 13 years.
Oh, excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We appreciate you coming over to our little digital presentation.
Mm-hmm.
We have one more.
One more.
Oh,
My name is Nick Ledger. I teach in the School of Business. I teach most of their law-related courses. This will be my 5th year at the university after a 35-year career in the law.
Oh, very cool.
Did you say football?
No, the law, School of Business.
I just had to check. Sometimes you hear something on these things and you got to check. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you all for joining us for sure.
So today we've got these simple learning objectives. We want to present how we have found, or that you may actually hopefully know this too, how to engage our audience in constructing a definition of student engagement. We also wish to identify researched best practices of student engagement, and hopefully you'll want to share your experiences with student engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Not too hard.
No. So for the first step, we just kind of try to define what student engagement is. And so you can see here, student engagement refers to the degree of attention, curiosity, interest, optimism, and passion that students show when they're learning or being taught. It can extend to the level of motivation that they have. So just, how interested are they in what they're learning? Are they going to take control of their own learning and move forward? Some research shows there's actually a really cool tool that everyone has access to. It's called the National Survey of Student Engagement, and it's an online tool, and we'll be happy to share their information with you at the end of the presentation. But they define student engagement as a student's involvement with activities and conditions likely to generate high quality learning, and they kind of use six big engagement scales. And those scales are academic challenge. So like, are the students being challenged? Are they having to kind of fight for, what they're learning? They also use active learning. So it's like their effort to actively construct their knowledge. They also use a student and staff interaction. So, the level and nature of students' contact with the teacher, with support staff, whoever's kind of facilitating their experience, how are they communicating? And then they also use a scale of enriching educational experiences, and that's the participation in broadening educational activities. We're going to touch a lot on that. Using your LMS can definitely facilitate that. And then supportive learning environments. So, whether it's online or a face-to-face, what kind of support are those students? What do they know about what is in place for them? How can we help them know what is there to support them? And so, that national survey, it's a very powerful tool that anyone can use. It kind of goes through your course and it rates your level of engagement. And again, we'll share that with you at the end of the presentation if you're interested in using that tool.
So defining engagement a little more precisely, engagement matters to student success in college. I think as we were listening to that, the first points that Fonz was making about student engagement, the one thing that came to my mind immediately was how there's seems to be two different sides to the scale. If the course is too hard, there's frequently a lot of talk about how that's a turnoff to students. And well, that may be true. I believe that we also know when courses are maybe a little harder, where you're demanding students to learn something, that has a really powerful impact on whether a student gets engaged enough. And so engagement matters to student success in college. In minority students, as engagement increases, so does the probability of returning the following year. Engagement positively affects grades in the first and last year of college. While exposure to engaging andragogical practices generally benefit all students, the effects are even greater for at-risk students. Because of academic engagement, over half the students in one study walked away with better study skills. And according to Terenzini, Pascarella, and Bliming, in their 1996 study, students who engaged with other students and their oppressed professors outside of the classroom demonstrated higher academic and cognitive development. Another study that we read on community college students and learning, communities showed that engagement also meant fewer absences, which translated into higher grades. So correspondingly, the results of the Communities College Faculty Survey of Student Engagement in 2007 established that engagement matters in course completion, grades, retention, persistence, and degree completion. Another study reported that it was demonstrated that higher levels of faculty to student engagement resulted in improved student satisfaction in the courses, learning course materials, and retention. That study also illustrated that students who were engaged felt instructors were more effective and the class was a more comfortable learning environment. I'm sure some of you had this experience, you know, as instructors yourselves, that when the students are able to or willing to connect with you and the material, what you're having going on, that it works better. Do any of you have any experiences like that? All right, get out of the way. Here we come. How do you engage your students?
Yeah, so as Peter mentioned, you know, student engagement is huge. I mean, it affects everything: student grades, student retention. I know that's real big. You know, here at Adams State, you know, retention is something we're worried about. So, you know, just making sure we have that engagement is very powerful. Does anyone have any examples of how you try to engage your students in your classes, whether it's face-to-face or online? If you don't want to share, we can share some things that we've noticed while we're helping instructors. But is anyone brave enough to share any methods that you use? Sure.
With most of my classes, I begin the class with just a brief question. You know, are there any relevant current events that might apply to the course content today? That's just an open.
Yeah, that's great.
They did their reading, then they're willing to share what they read on the internet or what they saw locally, or, you know, in a conversation. It doesn't have to be from scholars.
Yeah, that's great. Very great. Yeah,
I do something really similar. The beginning of my employment law class and my ethics class, I asked, what's happened in the last day or week? What have you read in the news? And I really encourage them to follow a newspaper, the Times, or whatever it is, and then bring that story to the classroom. And I found that students really open up a lot more with something that is occurring today.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for sharing. And definitely, and you know, if I'm not sure if you teach face-to-face or online, but you know, you could definitely use your LMS to facilitate those type of interactions online or as supplement to a face-to-face as well. So that's great. Thank you guys for sharing.
I'd like to share something. At Career Services, we do a lot of workshops and class presentations. So one of the things I like to do is to know, to understand the audience. Okay, whether it's a freshman class or senior, the course subject, and then we like to tailor the presentation towards that audience. And then the other thing we like to do is ask questions at the beginning as a way to, you know, get them involved in the presentation.
Yeah, that's great. Definitely. Yeah, catering to your audience, that's powerful, especially for an online class, and we'll talk a little bit more about that because, you know, a lot of our students, it's their first time ever even experiencing an online course, and so just making sure that they know what to do. Definitely, yeah. Thank you guys for sharing. That's all great.
Right, so engagement simplified in this instance just means that well, we've got this little simple list. Engagement equals action. That can be linked to critical thinking. If there are ways you can capture the student's attention, or compelling learners to seek additional knowledge, something that's going to capture their interest and self-motivate them to dig into the work a little more. My favorite idea is the hands-on activities. And I always ask my instructors to think about ways they can get the students who are sitting at home alone on their computer, staring at a screen, to stand up and do something and then come back and share about it. Because that's a hands-on activity. One of the first times I met distance learning was through a friend who was asked, first of all, the first thing I asked him to do was take this computer course. They had him take his computer apart and take pictures of it and list all the components that were in it. And then he had to list a place that he was going to get support from if he needed it. So, you know, that's the most intense kind of hands-on activity I ever saw for an online course. But it was a biology course he took. What? Was that? Oh, that was some, no one was saying asking anything. Good.
No,
well,
that's
anyway.
a very good idea, getting them to take a photo and then post it as a discussion board point.
Exactly.
So, right, whatever is related to the concept. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because, you know, every student has one of these in their pockets.
Almost everybody. Don't forget the ones who can't afford them.
True. True.
What is, and we already heard the suggestion, what is taught connects to the real world in some way. And if you give them something personally meaningful to bring back to the course, these all are ways to get students hooked in to you. And that's the most, probably one of the most important ideas, I believe.
Yeah. And so, you know, after kind of going through and doing the research and defining what we thought, you know, best personified engagement, we kind of went through our LMSs and we came up with some really good kind of best practices. So, you know, engagement is important during the class, but it also starts, you know, even before the class even starts. For an online course, it's, you know, course design, making sure that everything makes sense to the students. You know, they're, you know, creating learning objectives. So the way that an online class can be created is, you know, learning modules, which is kind of just organizing that content into, you know, a unit, a chapter, a week, so that students can go in, complete all the activities within that module, knowing that those were all the activities that needed to be done within that week or for that chapter. Having learning objectives that tie in with everything. You know, students know why they're having to complete that particular activity. They know what learning objective that activity is assessing. Content should connect with each lesson. So, you know, Module 1 kind of feeds into Module 2. You know, at the beginning of Module 2, you can say, okay, in Module 1, we covered, you know, X, Y, and Z. We covered that because now we're going to start covering, you know, 1, 2, and 3, which ties in. So just having, you know, that really clear, logical course design, you know, that's going to help engagement before class even starts. Having well-defined and concise expectations. You know, in a face-to-face course, you know, you can sit down with the students and tell them, you know, this is how you're going to be graded. And in an online course, you know, giving them, you know, a rubric before you have them complete an assignment. That way they know exactly how they're going to be graded. You know, you can include time to be involved. For example, you know, if it's a 3 credit hour course, letting them know that they should be, you know, studying at least 3 to 9 hours away from the computer or away from interacting with other students. You know, just giving them what exactly is expected of them before they have to do any activity. You know, again, that's just a great way to engage your students before class even starts. You know, another great way to do that is to make the first contact before classes starts. You know, in your LMS, you can kind of get a a roster. At least for Adams, you can get a roster of who's in your class before the class even starts, and so then you can go through and email those students, letting them know that you're excited for the course. Make sure that make sure you get your textbook. This is the ISBN number. Make sure that you're ready to bring your attitudes with you. Just reaching out to them beforehand, getting them excited. That's a great way to engage the students before the class even starts. And actually, let me go back a little bit. Yeah, and then like I talked about, rubrics and everything. Rubrics are great. In an LMS, you can use them to make your life easier. You can create them and then use that rubric while you're grading, but then just sharing that with students, that's going to make it, they're going to know what's expected of them before they even start. So definitely just letting them know, what to expect.
Okay, and well, yes, the next page, I can't see it right now. Oops. I can see it now. This is a continuation of what we're talking about here. The relation of an instructor to the course learning environment flourishes best with engagement that continues on the first day of class, right from that introductory email to repeating the syllabus and having a course navigation quiz, introductory discussion board, ways to engage students with note cards, or showing off the syllabus using a flipbook. Another really good one, because we've been having this conversation over here too, is how we can support students in learning better study habits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so
over here you can see this flipbook sample that Hans is showing off, made by our dear Catherine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this is just a way to make your syllabus a little more interactive, like we said before, catching their attention. Usually they just see like a PDF document of the syllabus. Maybe they read it, maybe they don't. To this, this kind of catches their eye a little bit more. Seeing the page flip, that's a little more exciting than just a PDF. But, in here it has all the information that they need, how the grade is broken up, helpful hints for the course, kind of like a little calendar of what to expect, what everything's worth, and then support links, who to call if they have problems, if they need an accommodation for the course, who do they get a hold of, so all that information is here in a very creative way. So this is a flipbook syllabus created by Catherine, as Peter said. So if you have any questions about this, definitely reach out to Catherine Burke Williams, and she'll be happy to walk you through all that.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Is there special software or application that we have to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I believe the program's called Flipbook, and Catherine knows all about it. She downloaded it, and I think she'd be happy to walk you through how to create it as well.
Yeah, it is a web app, though, so it's free up to a point, like any good free web app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but definitely, reach out to Catherine if you're interested. I know she's happy to help. Yeah, so let me get to that. Okay. So some ways to engage your students for reading assignments. You can use before class low stakes quizzes. So giving them that reading assignment that they have to complete, if it's a face-to-face course, give it to them to take home and read. And, during the break between the next class period, they can jump onto the LMS and take a quick low stakes quiz, or even a non-graded quiz. And that'll kind of give you, a feel on how they're, if they're understanding what they're reading, and it'll also let them know if they're understanding what they're reading. You can also have different group presentations. So you can, kind of break up your students into groups, have them go out and then, read their section and give them some questions that they then have to come back and teach to the course. Our questions were A, B, and C, and this is, after reading, this is what we thought. You can also have the different groups present their interpretations of the reading. So you don't, you can present them with questions, but you can also give them different sections of the reading, and then they have to come back and teach their section to the rest of the course. In Blackboard, and I think in D2L as well, there's a journal entry where you can actually have them kind of just journal what they read. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings after you read this? And in Blackboard, you can make the journal private. So they can really open up if you let them know, like, hey, this is just between me and you. I'm not going to share this with anyone without your permission. It's kind of cool to see them, really open up and, man, this really hit me in the heart. I want to talk about this. And so it's a really good way for them to kind of, understand what they learned, to expand further what they learned, and then to share what they've learned.
Right. So for in-class activities, you can use small group discussions or think, pair, share, exercise, response cards, or each one, teach one. This kind of helps bring people out of the I don't understand this yet into I understand this well, if you empower them to talk about it themselves and source their own knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, we talked about, student engagement being a three-way street. So there's also a student-to-student interaction street. And that street, student-to-student interaction, you can encourage your students to add portraits or avatars to their LMS profile. It just kind of brings a more personal feel to the course. Students will actually see a picture next to, whoever posted in a discussion board. And it just kind of puts an actual person with the text. It just, it's better. It makes it more personable. Using those discussion boards, you can have, some of you mentioned that you like to have kind of an open discussion with your students on, current events, what's going on in the world today, how is what you're learning in class reflected in what you're learning or what you see in the world today. And so they can use a discussion board for that. Use collaborative groups for activities. I know in Blackboard you can break out the students into groups. LMS, your LMS may be the same, and then you can have them kind of do their own activities and then bring it back to the class as a whole and kind of discuss what they've shown. Small group work for big projects. You could break up those big projects and have different groups work on different aspects of it, bring them all together to have something really cool. In Blackboard, the wiki tool is phenomenal for that. And then, encourage study groups. So once you kind of have them, knowing their group members, maybe they can get together outside of class and start studying together. And then when they come home, to the class, they can report that progress with each other.
So yes. Hello, Kitty. Instructor presence, you do matter, especially in an online course. I think, I'll cite the research first. In the 2012 Hodges and Cowan study on what elements students find most important about instructor presence, one major result was that the students received clear and concise instructions throughout the course. I'm pretty sure in a face-to-face course, which I've never been involved in, excepting as a student, there seems to be a pretty clear picture of how that works. But seeing how it works online is different. Their study also replicated another study that found making the course requirements clear was a key to what students felt was important. Other studies have revealed similar findings. A clear and logical course design with well-defined instructions help with instructor presence. Support offices, resources, important for both face-to-face and online courses. Students rated timely responses within 24 to 48 hours. And comprehensive feedback on assignments were most important elements for instructor presence. And as someone who's worked with a lot of instructors and built my own course, how do I say this? I use the announcement tool a lot. If I feel like there's something that hasn't been made clear, I speak about it on the announcements tool. And I'm available for my office hours and otherwise. And I know that I get a lot of positive feedback about my availability and willingness to help. So those are just, it's actually, that little component is relatively easy to deliver, but it goes on, doesn't it, Fonz?
For sure. So, talking about different types of presence, these 4 types of presence are, this will help you foster that positive learning environment where students are going to feel comfortable. They're going to want to keep up with their learning. They're going to want to, grow. So having some type of social presence, feelings of belonging, community, those are those open forums where they talk about, what's going on in the world today. And, I've seen some instructors, they have a discussion forum or a discussion thread available, but it doesn't even, it's not graded for one thing, and it's not even, it doesn't even have to pertain to the course. If they really like the Broncos and they want to talk about how the Broncos beat the Chicago Bears yesterday, they can go in there and they can talk about it and they can interact with each other. So, that kind of creates that feeling of belonging and community where they can, they can connect with their fellow students on a more personal level, instead of just, learning with each other. A cognitive, having an exchange of ideas available. One great thing I've seen one of my instructors do is, they have a big final project that each student needs to complete, and they'll have an open forum in the discussion area that's not graded, but they want their students to go in and kind of talk about what they're doing. And then they can kind of exchange ideas off each other and kind of come up with some really good ideas for those final projects. That teaching presence, like we talked about before, that happens way before class even starts with good course design. And then it continues as the course, moves, by having that engaging content, by having awesome activities that the students are feeling a little bit challenged to do, but, they're really excited to conquer those activities. And one that we might not think about for a face-to-face course is having that emotional support. If a student comes into your classroom in person and maybe they're crying, or you can just tell there's something wrong. I mean, you can pick that up really easily and kind of help them out. But in an online situation, it's a little bit harder. So just always letting them know that you're there for them, or if you can't help them, helping them get a hold of the office or the person on your campus that can help them. And then also having authentic feedback. They submit an assignment or a project to you, just being authentic about them. And a great tool to use is kind of recording yourself. I think Audacity is a free application you can use, and you can actually record yourself giving verbal feedback, and then being able to pick up on your your tone of voice and your physical, or your voice cues. It kind of helps them feel that you're emotionally attached to their learning, and they'll understand that you want them to succeed and that you're there for them. So just kind of making sure you have these 4 types of presence in your course can help tremendously.
So building instructor presence, I think the most, how do I say this? This was the most important point for me when I started working with faculty and students in online course environments. The come from the student's perspective is a really big, important, it exists in all sorts of marketplaces and theories, because this is customer service 101. Look at your course from the student's perspective. Forget that you just finished building it, and remember that the student has never seen it before. A lot of students have never been in an online environment before. I've spent a good deal of time following the Quality Matters rubric around, and that's one of the first things they say, is to make sure that your course is clear and concise. That whole construct the course from the student's perspective means you welcome them into the course, you tell them where to go next, and after you tell them where to go next, what to do. We've been mentioning this throughout here. That's the clear, logical course design. This speaks to creating a cognitive presence in the class, and that there are well-defined, consistent instructions. Again, a cognitive presence. Timely responses are important on discussion boards. And I've been involved in a lot of debates about what's too much and what's too little, and how soon you should do it. And if you respond like you're hovering over the board, it'll shut the whole board down. It's an interesting debate. And if you all have any experience with this, I hope that you'll spend a few moments in another slide or two telling us about that. Using voice chat features for comprehensive, meaningful feedback. Wow, Zoom is a really easy way for students to connect with each other and with you. Adding video and audio to content helps students to connect, and providing clear instruction and examples again.
And so, you know, a lot of the stuff we talk about, we say online class, online class, online class. And, you know, we don't want to exclude any face-to-face instructors, because, you know, the same kind of thing applies to a face-to-face course. You know, and a really cool and powerful tool you can be using for your face-to-face course is your LMS. So, you know, D2L, Blackboard, Canvas, you can use that LMS. You know, you can provide all the information that you're giving in course or in your class to your students on your LMS. You can still organize that content into modules. You can put up your instructor bio and picture with the contact information. That way, if the student's away from the class, you know, they'll know how to contact you if they need to. You know, maybe they have a question on an assignment, they can, you know, jump into the course, you know, on their phone, pull up their course, see when you're available for your office hours, see when they're allowed to call you. They can look, you know, they can pull that up quickly. Another great thing is to create those quizzes, you know, either based off your welcome message, your course orientation, your syllabus, or even, you know, some of your readings that you're giving them, where they have to, you know, go back home to their dorm or at work. If they have a second, they can, you know, log in real quick and take that quiz. It's just kind of making sure that, you know, they're constantly remembering what they're doing in that course, assessing their learning. And then, you know, emailing students 1 to 2 weeks before classes start, or just in general, you know, just sending out an email every once in a while. You know, how you doing? How you feel the course is going for you? Do you have any questions for me? You know, remember, I'm here for you. Those, you know, aspects can also work for the face-to-face courses as well. It's something that we really try to push here at Adams for the online courses, but definitely in a face-to-face setting, I think they would be very powerful as well.
It can be, and it's not terribly difficult. Our LMSs these days and the mobile devices these days make it really easy to set up your syllabus so that it's available right there on the phone while they're at their boring desk job, or a way to set up a peer review while in class for discussion and evaluation. Having students access data and information from their phones while in class. Include both audio and video throughout the course. They can put on their headsets and listen to video and engage with readings right from their phone. I did have a student at one point who worked at Ojo Caliente, and she had to sit there and wait for people to come for massages with nothing scheduled. So she had a lot of time to get really good grades on her nursing program. And she couldn't do that without the LMS set up in a way that she could access it. So she begged me for 3 months to figure out how to make it work. This gives you a way to adhere to office hours too. We can use Zoom for that, and set up more collaborative activities so students can work together to construct knowledge for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in closing, you know, the title of our presentation is, you know, Engagements a Three-Way Street. And those 3 streets are instructor to class, student to student, and then instructor to student or student to instructor. And to kind of show you a breakout of those, so instructor to class, just to kind of reiterate, that clear course design, way before the class even starts. That's going to facilitate that positive instructor to class engagement. Concise expectations, whether that's, just letting them know in the syllabus what's expected of them, giving them the rubrics that you'll be using to grade. Designing those engaging activities. That way it keeps their interest. They're wanting to complete those activities because, either if it's challenging themselves or they're just really, really enjoying what what that activity is doing for them. Making that first contact either before class even starts, you can send them that email, just letting them know you're excited, making sure they're getting their course materials ready. Having a welcoming message, whether it's just a quick little bio in your syllabus that you put into the LMS, or that you're actually creating a welcome video that you can, send in that first email, or even a video. I know some instructors here at Adams will do a video walking through their syllabus. That way, even if, in the middle of the semester, a student wants to go back and watch that video, they still can. So, having that welcome message available to them, including video and audio, YouTube, TED Talks, those are powerful tools that can be used in any class. So you can, show them in class in a face-to-face course, and then putting them on your LMS so students can watch, when they have a little bit more time to watch them, or, just having audio and video whenever you can to catch their attention as well. And then having that engaging content available to them. Those are all great ways to facilitate that positive instructor to class engagement.
Student to student, obviously the simplest tool that they all love to resist, email, discussion board forums, small group activities in class, creating collaborative assignments and projects. These all are very successful.
And then instructor to student, student to instructor, again, email. We talked about before how when students are asked, one of the most important aspects of their class was timely responses. So, putting in your course syllabus that you'll respond to emails, Monday through Friday within 24 hours. And if it's on a weekend, it could be up to 48 hours. Comprehensive, meaningful feedback, whether it's through a rubric or an email or that video or audio, recording that you make, modeling the expectations. The syllabus is not only the student's contract with you, but it's also your contract with the students. So if you're posting, your timely responses, just make sure that you model that. That way, the students try not to model it either. And then demonstrating caring support. Again, that's that emotional engagement, making sure that they know that you're there for them, that you want them to succeed, and that if you can't help them, getting them in touch with someone in the office or in your campus that can help them. All great ways to facilitate that instructor to student engagement.
Great. Well, this is the final wrap up. And that is to ask if you would please let us know if any of these ideas are things you might like to try.
I couldn't find that software.
Yeah.
It's good for
Yeah, that's what I was interested.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just having, that visual, just seeing the pages flip, I mean, that grabs their attention right away. So awesome. I hope you do. And again, Catherine Brooks Williams, I know she'd be happy to show you for sure.
I teach research courses, and it's really great to have students try to explain to the other students what I just said, because so that's a really helpful idea.
Great. Yeah.
I already do some of the things that you said in my class, but I think what I'm going to add is maybe the picture and the bio, and then also we just said about paraphrasing. What explain it to your peer. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Anyone else? Erica? We had somebody who joined us remotely, and I'm wondering if Erica can hear us and if she had anything she got from this. She might not have a microphone on too. So there's going to be a survey that's sent out, emailed to you all, and we do hope that you'll be able to take a few moments to fill it out. It's not too terribly long.
Mhm.
We'd love your feedback, and we're very grateful that you all showed up with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope Las Vegas is not going to see any more gigantic hailstorms anytime soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And definitely, we'd be happy to share, this recording with you, as well as any of the resources. We have a few reference slides here. I can run through them if you guys are interested in seeing those. These are all the research that we've used to kind of come up with these ideas, and it's the different research studies that we've talked about. But definitely, so Catherine Brooks-Williams, like we said, she was kind of the leader of this. So if you want to share with her, your email address or a way to contact you, and that way we can send you the survey, as well as we can share all these references with you if you guys are interested in reading these on your own, or if you have any questions or anything, you can get a hold of her, and she can get a hold of us, and we can continue this collaboration that we've set up to help you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Excellent. Thank you. All have a wonderful afternoon.